Hello, it's Barbara Guess, and we are talking about the meaning of life. Richard Taylor's essay, The Meaning of Life. I really enjoy this one, and he uses a lot of analogies in the essay to make his points. So when you're reading it, if you like the arguments by analogy, you're going to enjoy the essay because he tells a lot of stories. If you don't like argument by analogies, it's probably not your favorite essay. All right, so let's get straight to the checklist. What's our question? Our question is there a meaning to life? So, step 2, what terms do we need to define? Well, for life, we mean human life. Even though he does use animals in some of his examples, he's specifically asking a question about, is there meaning to human life? Meaning. Is there a meaning to life? Well, we need to define what meaning is because how you define it is going to play a huge role in how you answer it. So, he starts by saying, let's define meaninglessness first. Because if we can define what lacks meaning, we then have a definition of what has meaning. So he tells the story of Sisyphus. Sisyphus is an ancient Greek myth. It has more than one variation, but the basic storyline is there's a human, his name is Sisyphus, and he tells the secrets of the gods. Well, he tells us the secret of one of the gods. Because ancient Greek, you got a lot of different gods. You got Zeus, Aphrodite, Ares. I can't think of all their names right now. The one with the little wings on his feet. So, Sisyphus, being a human, he tells the secret of one of the gods. The god gets mad and decides to punish him. So he punishes him by making him roll a stone, big boulder stone, up to the top of a hill. And at the top of the hill, the boulder rolls back down and he pushes it back up. And it comes back down and he pushes it back up. And on and on and on. So does this make you think meaningless? Because if you think about being Sisyphus, all he gets to do is push the rock up, come down, push it back up. That's all his life is. He can't do anything else. So nothing is being accomplished. There's no point to pushing the rock up. So the first thing we need to know about the definition is pointless. One of the things that makes Sisyphus' life lacking in meaning is because nothing gets accomplished. There's no point. There's nothing to point to and say, hey, look what you did. Like if you got to roll the boulders up, keep them at the top of the hill, and then make something out of them, then you might have a point. You could point to, let's say he builds a temple to the gods, so they will perhaps reduce his sentence. Well, then you have something to point to. Literally say, hey, look, at the top of the hill is a temple. There you'd have a meaning. There's something, but since he doesn't get to do that, all he gets to do is push the rock up, it comes back down, push the rock up, comes back down. It's pointless. So, should we stop the definition here? No. Because think about it. If you were Sisyphus, and you were rolling the rock to the top of the hill, and it's coming back down, and that's all you got to do, nothing else in life but pushing the rock, what would you look forward to? I would look forward to death, because quite frankly, I would not want to continue pushing the rock to the top of the hill. So, if he's looking forward to death, then he has something to look forward to. He has a point to his existence, which is to reach death. I know it sounds odd, but go with me here. And if he has a point to living, is his life really meaningless? No, there's a point there. And the first part of our definition of meaningless is pointless. So now he no longer is meaningless because he wants to die. So the gods, knowing this, basically give him eternal life. So he never gets to die. So now he has to roll the rock or the boulder to the top of the hill and watch it come down and back and back and back forever. There's no end in sight. He can't look forward to death anymore. This, for Richard Taylor, is the epitome of a meaningless existence. It is pointless and it is endless, which is our definition for meaningless. Endlessly pointless, which also gives us our meaning for meaningful. So now we just put a not in front of it. So meaningful is not endlessly pointless. So now we have our definition of meaning, meaningless, life. There's two other terms that I'm going to define at the beginning. He doesn't make it clear. He talks about them, and I think he even mentions them once, but he doesn't go into great detail, especially in the beginning of the essay. But I think understanding his point early on helps you understand his essay better. So he's making a distinction between objective meaning and personal meaning. So what is objective meaning? Objective is a word that has more than one meaning. One of its meanings could be a point. That's not the meaning we're using. Wrong definition. Objective here is referring to a perspective. You either have a personal perspective or you have an objective perspective. If I have a personal perspective, then I have a internal. So I know what it's like to be me. So I have a personal perspective on myself. I know what I'm thinking and feeling. I can feel myself touch my arm. That's personal. It's internal to me. You will never know what it's like for me to touch my arm. It's amazing. You'll never know. Joy, joy. And you can't know because you can't be inside my head. You will never know if touching my arm sends shockwaves of joy throughout. The idea of personal perspective, it's internal to me. I understand. I have a personal perspective on myself. I do not have a personal perspective on you because I don't know what it's like to be you. I can't get inside your head. I can't feel, see, think, hear, taste from your head. I don't know what it's like to be you. So, personal perspective is an internal perspective. Objective perspective is an external perspective. So you have an external perspective on me because you only know what you see and hear about me. You only know, you don't really know what it's like to be me. So you don't have a personal perspective on me. You have an objective perspective. What you know is what you see me do. If I start stacking pencils, pretend that this is something. Let's say I am going to make a fence of pencils. So, as an objective observer, all you know is what you see. And this is what you see. Pretend it's bigger. I have made a fence out of pens and pencils. What you see from an objective perspective is what I do. So objective is tied to the physical. You see my fence of pens and pencils. See, this is what you see. So objectively, when you see what I do. You see the physical things that I do. Now, what about, why is it strictly physical? Because you don't know what it's like to be me. You know what I say, but could I be lying? Yeah. If I look like I'm in a good mood, do you know I'm in a good mood? Or could I just be acting like I'm in a good mood? Will you ever actually know what's inside another person's head? No. I don't know why they would be lying, but they could be lying, they could be acting. What you actually know from an objective perspective is what you see people do. And what you see them do is physical stuff. You build something, you take something down, that type of thing. Personal perspective is internal. All right. So now that is the end of our terms. We have meaningless, meaningful, life, objective, which is external perspective that relates to physical, and personal perspective, which is internal and relates to thoughts, feelings, what you think, feel, all the five senses. Okay, so now that you know all the terms, we're going to do step 3, which is answer the question. Richard Taylor asked, is there a meaning to human life? And his answer is, hold on a second. Oh, you coming? Oh, come on in. Okay, one second. Come on in. What's up?
I have to leave for a little while, but if you need anything, it's my cell phone, okay?
Cool. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Okay, so, sorry for the interruption. Step 3, answer the question. The question is there meaning to life? Richard Taylor's answer is, there is no objective meaning to human life, but that's okay because there is personal meaning. Now that we've defined all our terms, you probably understand his answer a lot better. There is no objective meaning to human life, but that's okay because there's personal meaning. Okay, how does he support his answer? Well, we're not going to talk a lot about personal meaning because nobody really objects to this. As long as you have a thought in your head, something that you think about, want, desire, you have personal meaning. All right? But objective meaning, that's a little different. Why is he arguing that human life has no objective meaning? Well, from an outsider's perspective, what do they see humans do? He uses an argument by analogy to make his argument for why life has no objective meaning. So we're going to do an argument by analogy. How an argument by analogy works is you tell the story, the analogy, you make a point with your story. Then you compare your analogy to whatever it is you're trying to prove, and as long as the connection is clear, then whatever you said about your analogy, you can say about the point you're trying to prove. Step by step. In this essay, he tells the story about worms in New Zealand. So there's a cave in New Zealand, and actually these caves really exist, in case you were wondering. So, and these worms do too. Though in America we call them caterpillars. Anyhow, so inside this cave, there is, I can't even imagine how many. Let's imagine you have an objective viewpoint on humanity. So you are external. So let's make you an alien. You are an alien from another planet. And as an alien, you are going to grad school. And your assignment is to travel to Earth and see if life there has meaning. You're a very long-lived alien, so you don't have to worry about that. So now you come to Earth in your wonderful spaceship that nobody can see, and you set it down in New Zealand. Now, you walk into the cave, the first cave you see. Why not? And it's beautiful. You look around, and there's little points of light all over the walls. And you're like, that's pretty cool. So you walk up to one of the points of light, and you look at it. And what it is, it's the tail to a worm. And every tail to these worms are lit up. That's why the cave is lit up. Well, thousands of points of lights all over the walls. So you're like, all right, here's my first life form. Let me watch it. So you watch the worm. The worm crawls in and out of the cave. The worm eats. The worm lives. Then one day, it starts creating a casing for itself. and you're looking at it. You're like, this is pretty interesting. So the worm makes a cocoon, and you watch it, and then it pops out with wings. And you look, and you watch the little butterfly fly around. You get really close because you want to make sure it's still your worm. It's still your worm, just it's got wings now. And you watch it fly around. It lays eggs, and it dies. You don't know enough right now whether to make a decision. So you watch the children of your first worm, and the children of those worms, and those worms, and those worms, and those worms, and those worms. Let's say you watch 1,000 generations of worms. And you're going to see basically the same pattern. They're born, they live, they eat, they crawl around. Most of them become butterflies, have children, and die. And the next group does the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. So then you step outside the cave, you take a break. You go back inside the cave. The cave looks exactly like it did the first time you went into it. You still have the beautiful cave walls that are filled with little points of light, all the worms, and you've made your decision. Worm life has no objective meaning because all it does is continue worm life itself. It maintains the status quo. The worms live, eat, procreate, die. And every generation does the same thing. And the one thing they do is continue worm life itself. That's maintaining the status quo, so there's nothing new there, so you're not going to call that objective meaning. So now you've decided worm life has no objective meaning. So you jump in your spaceship, and you look around for your next subject, and you see a human being. So you stay and you watch this human being. They are more complex, much more complex than your worms. They have jobs and families. This person lives and works and raises her children, and then she's older and she dies. So then you watch her kids, and her kids also have more complicated lives. They live, they work, most of them have a family, and they die. And it keeps going and keeps going. So you watch 1,000 or a lot of generations of the human being. And you think about it, and you think, you know what? It's basically this exact same pattern as the worms, except they have more complex lives. But it's the same thing. They're born, they live, they do stuff. They have kids, most of them, and eventually they pass away, and the kids do the same thing and the same thing. They're continuing human life. But really, they're maintaining the status quo because every generation is pretty much following the same pattern as the worms, which means we can come to the same conclusion that we came about worms, that human life has no objective meaning. But remember, that's okay, because human life has personal meaning. And who's to say the worm's life doesn't have personal meaning? Because if you were a worm in that cave, well, if I was a worm in that cave, and I'm about to become a butterfly, I want to become a butterfly. I want to fly around the cave. I want to have my kids all before I die. I don't want to just give up in my cocoon and go, same as last one. So that is his supporting argument, and his argument by analogy to support the fact that human life has no objective meaning. Now, this is what we're going to criticize in step 5, which is find the flaw in the argument. And the flaw is going to say, really? No. Human life, this argument by analogy is flawed because human life cannot be compared to worm life, because objective meaning is tied to physical things, and humans, unlike the worms, build things. We build houses, we build cities and roads and buildings and lots of physical things to point to say, hey, That has meaning. So we do have objective meaning. Now this is the flaw. Now, step 6 is respond to the flaw and uphold the original objection. And uphold the original, respond to the flaw and uphold the original answer. So Richard Taylor does that. And if you think about the essay, at the very end when he's talking about the person coming back to look at their house, this is part of how he's answering the question. So, humans do build things. We do. Is it enough to say that we have objective meaning? Richard Taylor is going to say no. And the reason he's going to say no is because physical things don't last. So think about it. Let's say you're a person and you want to build your own house. Literally, build it on your own, by yourself, plank by plank, wood piece by wood piece, brick by brick, whatever house you want. Okay, so you're going to build a house. And the reason you love your house and you build the house is because you want to raise your family there. And you love your house. And you have a good family. Everybody enjoyed their childhoods. All is good. Eventually, you're going to pass away. So in our storyline, we're not really saying anything about the afterlife. You become a ghost. Okay? So now, let's say 30 years has passed since your death. You go and check on your house. And you're happy because there's a whole new family coming up in your house. Your house is bought. They're raising their kids. You're like, yay. All right. Now, you wait another 30 years and you come check on your house. Nobody's living in the house. It's falling apart. And it's sad. You go away. You wait another 20 years and you come back. Now, there's really nothing to save. There are bits of wood from the house. You go in the backyard and you see a little piece of metal sticking up from the ground, and you go over there and you look at it and you realize it's a piece of the sled that your son and daughter used to ride down the hill in the winter. And it makes you really sad. But then you remember what you loved about the house was raising your family in it. And you were happy to see another family raising their kids in it. So what matters about the house? Is it the physical thing? Or is it the memories and the personal meaning you gave the house? Richard Taylor is going to say what matters about the house is the personal meaning. It's not objective meaning. Because if you go back to our original definition, meaningful is not endlessly pointless. Meaningless is endlessly pointless. So, that whole idea of endlessness, in order for objective meaning to work, you'd have to have a physical object that lasts forever. It would have to be endless. And physical objects in our world do not last forever. Nothing does. Dust to dust, it originally goes away. And the interesting thing about this essay is this is his response, that human beings do not have objective meaning, even though we build things, because the things we build, the houses, the cities, they will eventually disintegrate. They are not forever. What matters in life is personal meaning. So really, don't focus, his underlying message is don't focus on the physical, focus on the personal, because physical is not going to last. And that is the end of the Meaning of Life essay. I hope you liked Richard Taylor's essay. It's one of my favorites. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.